Gabrielle Union and Jessica Alba for Spectrum and Comcast. So if you have Spectrum, you can get it, but if you don't, then you can't because it's all streaming. You know, now that everybody has their own streaming center. So we're shooting pretty late on Friday, but so I was only able to do today, but I'm glad to be here. Tomorrow, I'm doing a reading with a bunch of other people of the Mueller Report for a fundraiser in Los Angeles. It's kind of interesting, tomorrow night. And, but a lot of, cool stuff, interesting stuff has been happening. I'm sure you guys know by now the Ghostbuster movie, even though I'm told not to let anyone know that I'm in the movie, but every place I see it's announced everywhere. I'm like, so don't tell them that I told you that, but it's happening. It'll be out next summer. It should be pretty good. Yeah, so I have no set agenda or plans or nothing. I'm just really dying to talk about or to share with you guys. So since I think they set aside 40 minutes, so we'll just have a conversation. And if there's a question you have, just we'll roll with it. Hopefully this table is stable. Yeah, so just ask, and I'll be as honest as I can. Yeah, so Santa Fe on a Sunday morning. I'm not sure what happens in Santa Fe on a Sunday morning, but it's great to be here. All I know is you guys got some great spas, and it's one of the spiritual centers on the planet, I'm told. So I assume you guys are all spiritual healers, and so I'm waiting for the being in tune. Anyway, so you guys know that I did the Ghostbuster movies, and I did Congo, and I did The Crow, and The Substitute, and Miss Congeniality. I do a show now called Grace and Frankie with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. Lily Tomlin plays my girlfriend, which is a little bit of a shock to me. Yeah, I love Lily Tomlin, but I thought, really? Am I there yet? I mean, you never realize you're old until somebody tells you. You know what I mean? It's like, no, yeah, like, wow. I guess I'm the old guy now. I was working with Whoopi Goldberg. We were doing a television show, and in the show we have an argument, and I just get frustrated. I walk out and I get on my moped and I take off. Now I don't drive a moped, or a motorbike, so they showed me how to use the thing and where the brakes were and how to accelerate it. And so I come out and I jump on the thing and I take off, and the bike it just took off, and I'm like, whoa. So I tried to hit the brakes, but every time I tried to hit the brakes, it just sped up more, and I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna die on this bike. So I just bailed off. I just dived off, and the bike crashed into a building. And then I heard this scream like, oh my God, the old guy fell. And the old guy. And I said, is he okay? And then I realized I was the old guy. It's like, wow, when did that happen? When did I get to be the old guy? So, but anyway, it's good to be here, with all of my many years. I kind of look at getting older, kind of like, it's like, I guess if you're in martial arts, if you're a second degree, you don't envy the guy with a yellow belt. You know what I mean? You kind of you earn that belt. So all these years, I guess I've earned all the wrinkles, and and then when you're married to someone, you marry someone. My wife was 22 when we got together, and now she's not 22. But I look at all those and I go, I had something to do with those lines and wrinkles and whatever. But it's life is amazing, and you don't I guess it depends on what you want to focus on. Anyway, it has nothing to do with what you guys want to hear. You want to hear about movies and Hollywood and you know, just the glamour of, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I love you and the crew, dude.
Yeah, the Crow was great. I knew Brandon for maybe about 8 years before we did the movie.
Oh,
you know.
yeah, I was going to say, what's your fondest memories with Brendan?
You know, I like Brandon because he was such a nice guy. I met him, I was doing a television show called Broken Badges. We were shooting in Vancouver, and Miguel Ferrar, who recently died, he was on NCIS. But they grew up together, and or they've known each other for a long time. So Brandon had just come from China doing something, and he hung out with us for about 8 days, and I got to know him pretty well. But he was always so gracious, and he, you know, it was always hard to get him not to call me Mr. Hudson, you know, and but he was just a really nice guy, and on the set, he was always very, very inclusive. He took the time, he'd hang with people, and because a lot of people don't, you know, a lot of actors want to they'll just stay to themselves, you know. I've worked with people who don't even talk to me. I'm like, really? Who do you talk to? I mean, my God, it's like luckily I don't really need the reinforcement of, you know, I'm one of those people, if you don't want to talk, I'm good, man. You know, as long as they're paying me well, I don't need a lot, so. But Brandon was a really great guy, and he was just very, very kind. So when the accident happened, it was just, it was shocking, but sometimes when things happen in life, it's almost shocking because it happened to him. Not that you want it to happen to anybody, but he was just such a beautiful young man, and we had dinner the night before he died. My wife had just lost her brother, and he was very kind and took the time and was just very, very nice to my wife. And we were flying out the next morning to go to Minnesota, where she's from. And he was talking about all the things that was happening. He had a new contract with Paramount, it was a 3-picture deal. He was getting married as soon as the movie was over to Liza, his fiance. They had bought a house together. All these amazing things was happening. And he was saying just how life is so incredible, and he was encouraging me to hang in there because I've been acting for over 50 years, and not to get discouraged because he used himself as an example. And the next morning he was gone. And I remember reading a script once, and one of the lines in the show was, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Because we really don't know, and it really makes you reach a point when you just appreciate this time that we're here, you know, this time with each other, whatever the situation may be. And so I always think about Brandon, you know, with the fondest of memories. He was just, you know, it's, I just thought he was really gracious. Sometimes people are gracious when they don't have to be. He was the star of the show, it was his show. You know, he didn't have to be. When people are kind, when they don't have to be, it's very special. He was very, very special to me. Yeah. And I think it comes through in the movie. I think he would have been very proud of that movie. It's one of my favorite films. 20, however many years later, I don't know, it's been 25 years or so, you know, still, it holds up pretty good. Not every movie that I've done do. Some movies are pretty bad. I mean, I have to go, wow, that was bad. But they're all fun, and I thankfully don't have to. I don't have to figure out how they. You know, we make them. You never know if they're going to be good, bad, or people will like them, don't like them. I try not to make that part of my equation. You know. But what I have done as I've gotten older is. I have to ask myself, is this really worth my time? Because as you get older, you become aware that time is limited. So if I'm going to take 3 months and work on a movie on some location, it really needs to be at least worthy. Because you can't do it for the money, or you know, it's not about the money. It's not enough money to. You reach a point where you realize that a car is a car, you know. I mean, you can buy $500 jeans or $29 jeans. At the end of the day, it's just a pair of jeans. So if you're gonna sell your life for the money, it should be worth something. It should mean something to you. You should know why you're doing it at least. You know. So, okay, it's Sunday morning. I tend to want to preach on Sunday, so. So yeah.
So did you have training as an actor growing up? Did you go to acting school or?
Well, no, I think as a kid, I spent a lot of time in church. My grandmother who raised me, my mom died when I was 3 months old, and my grandmother raised me, and she went to church a lot, so I went to church with her, which is really kind of cool because in church it was kind of like theater. You know, the ministers, they get up there and it's kind of a, you know, and they tell these, they preach, but they tell these stories, and it's kind of, and so I would sit there on the front row and I'd kind of listen to their stories. And then when we get home, my grandmother would kind of explain to me what they meant by, you know, but I was always sort of fascinated. They had church plays, I would do the church plays, but I never thought about being an actor because I didn't know any actors. I didn't know anybody who, Hollywood was like Mount Olympus somewhere, you know, where the gods lived and real people didn't live there, you know. They drove fancy cars and they were, you know, in the old days especially, Hollywood was glamour, you know. So I never thought about being an actor. I just really wanted to get a good job. So when I got out of high school, I went to the Marine Corps. I had asthma, so I was discharged after 10 weeks. I came home, I got married, because the girl I was dating was having a hard time at home. Her mom hated her. It wasn't until I married I realized why her mom hated her. but you know, I was trying to get a good job, and I was very bad at everything. I'm the guy who was really bad at everything. You know, I tried to, and then one day, because I don't have time for the whole story, but one day I walked into a theater and I saw this play and I went like, oh my God, I mean, this is like, you know, this is like amazing. I mean, these actors were like, it was just, I can't even describe it.
What was the play?
It was something, my Papa's Daughter. It was an original play in Detroit at the Detroit Repertory Theater. Actually, I had a fight with my wife that evening and I just had to get out. So I got in my car and I was driving around and I saw this lineup of people outside of this building, and it was like a marquee, but it didn't look like a movie theater. And so I parked and asked what was everybody waiting for, and they said there's a play. I had never been to a professional play, so I got in line because I didn't want to go home. And the curtain came up, and the girl was bad, and her father kicked her out, and the boyfriend that she had was a jerk, and she was having the baby by herself, and her father wanted nothing to do with her, and then finally in the end they made up, and I was crying, and I'm like, oh my God, this is, oh, it's so touching. It just, oh, and people stood up and applauded, and I thought, oh my God, it was like so, I mean, those guys, those actors, I mean, to be an actor, that it was like one of those things I couldn't even ask, you know, that prayer you can't, it's like, that's too much. I could never be that, because I mean, these people like bigger than life. I mean, oh my God, they're actors. And then that fall, I was in college, and I needed an elective, so I took an acting class. And when I walked on the stage, I just knew I was at home. I mean, I just felt like I can do this. Like all those jobs I had that I thought they were going to fire me as soon as they realized how bad I was, I knew that I could do this. You know, it's okay. Let me get this straight now. So I'm going to stand here and I'm going to say the lines, and I get paid, and I don't have to like lift anything or dig any ditches, or I gotta make you believe that I'm this person, but I get paid for that. And that was 50-some years ago, and I've always made a living as an actor. But then, of course, I went to college, and then once I realized that this is what I was going to do, I also realized that you have to lay the foundation for it. So I studied. I went to Wayne State University and I graduated. I got a scholarship to Yale, so I went to Yale. And then after I left Yale, I went to University of Minnesota to work on a PhD. I never finished the program. And I was in all kind of workshops. I must have done, I don't know, 50 plays before I finally got a TV show. But I knew that the foundation had to be solid because I want to do it for a long time. And I have a lot of friends who got a television show and they weren't really clear. Sometimes, you know, they hire you because maybe you got a cute smile or whatever, but you want to be able to do it for the rest of your life. So now that I'm in my 70s, I'm probably working now more than ever, but I think it's, it doesn't matter whether it's acting or whatever you decide this is what you're gonna do, that's your gift to the world. Your work is your contribution, and so you have to honor it and bring your best. And I always sort of look at it like that. So my prayer was, God, if you just let me do this, just give me a role, and I promise I'll give it everything I got. So you'll never hear about me showing up late on the set. You'll never hear about me not knowing my lines. You'll never hear about me throwing a temper tantrum and shutting production down, because I am so thankful to have a job. And so, yeah, I just think that's, you honor that, the opportunity to do what you love to do, you know? And even more, as much as loving to do it, to do what you can do. People say, well, what should I do? I say, if there's something you can do and you know you do it well, then that's what you should be doing. You know, I get acting makes sense to me somehow on some level, and that's why I do it. I'm also thinking about, I don't even call myself a writer because I know that I can do it, but that's not my ministry, you know? And so that's why I'm an actor, and as long as people keep paying me and keep asking me to show up, I'll show up, and unless I don't want to do it anymore, which, you know, that could happen, you know. I was working with Leslie Nielsen. We did Mr. Magoo in Vancouver, and Leslie had just finished a movie like at midnight the night before. He flew, got there, came right to the sets to start work on Mr. Magoo. We worked on Mr. Magoo for like 3 months, and the day he finished, he was leaving to go do another movie. And I'm like, really? I mean, I don't love it that much. You know, I mean, I like what I do, but I'm not trying. That's why I don't direct. I don't want to be on the set 12 hours a day and all up and telling people how to do their job. I'm like, nah, you know, I do what I do, and good luck with that. So, but some people do. Some people, it's their lives. I mean, it's not my life. You know, I'm married, been married for 40-some years. Well, actually, we've been married for 35 years, but we've been together for 44 years. And you ever sometimes you've been with somebody and you know them really well. I mean, we're like, you know, close, and but then one day you look at the person and you realize you don't really know them. You know, you kind of go, who is this person? And you realize that because you think all these days you come home and you say, hey, hi, how's it going? Did you take care of that? And did the guy call about this? And okay, like I got this, and then you just, it's like you're going through something without really taking the moment and going, I'm married to this person. I mean, I know how exciting it was when we got together and she was 22 and I was too old, but who is this person? And you look at someone. It was like singing for the first time, and I thought, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be together and not know this person, not say good morning, not really appreciate. So, okay, I'm jumping all over the place. So, but yeah, no, I think these moments we have to. This moment to be in the stand of faith with you guys. I mean, I don't think it's by accident that we're here together. you know, it was meant to be. And so I wanna appreciate this moment, because may never be together again, but we're here now. So, yeah, any other questions about anything? Yeah.
Is acting fun?
Is acting fun? Yeah, it kind of is when I get it right. It's also very frustrating, because sometimes it'll be like a scene. I do a show called The Family Business on BET, and I'm the patriarch of this family, this crime family, and we got word in the story that my son on the show had been killed, and the girl Valerie, I can't think of her last name, plays my wife on the show. She was so emotional, and she was so into it, and she was so amazing, and I was watching her going, oh my gosh, she's really into this. And I was trying to kind of make sense out of it. I couldn't quite get my head, I don't know, you know, I have 4 sons, I don't know, I couldn't quite, so it's frustrating a lot of times, because sometimes you can't, and then sometimes you'll be in it, and then you just know, you know, you'll just be in that space, and it's almost like there's another part of you that just sort of steps back, and then you're in that moment. I had a scene with Gabrielle Union. I don't know if you guys know who Gabrielle is, but she's on the show, and on this show, has a gay relationship. I don't know. She has a relationship with a woman who's killed. And so we're trying to figure out what happened, but she never told me, I'm her dad, that she was gay. And so I'm to tell her, you know what, you never have to hide who you are. You're my daughter, and I love you. And so I saw the scene a certain way, and we started doing it, but she went to a whole other place. I mean, she got really heavy in it. And then I knew that I just have to take this serious. So now I gotta kind of get into my head, and we ended up in a really cool place. But sometimes, yeah, sometimes it takes a little, and then sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, we'll do the scene and everything, and then at 3 in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll go, oh, that's what that was about. And you can't do it over again. So, but it's always reaching for this place. And sometimes you get it, and it's so wonderful, and sometimes it's frustrating. But yeah, so, you know, it's a little bit, but I think probably most things that you do, you're always reaching for your best, I think. So in that sense, I love it, but it's also, nothing worse than seeing a show that you did, a movie, and it's a scene that you couldn't get grounded in, and every time you see it, it just makes you go, man. Or sometimes you'll be with somebody who you're playing their husband or something, and the person can't stand you, you know, and they're not good enough an actress to pretend that they do, you know. It's like, you know. That was the thing with Whoopi, and I love Whoopi, but she did not see me as a romantic interest. I'm like, you got to give me something here, because I'm like, I'm trying too hard, you know. So, but it's fascinating, because what I love about acting is every situation, every show, it's different with different people, and it never lasts long. You know, like you go to work and you work on a job for 2 or 3 years. I know this job is going to be over in a couple of months, a couple of weeks, a couple of days, and so I can show up, and it doesn't last. So that's the wonderful thing about it for me, you know. So if you don't like people, you just go, okay, this will pass. Then I meet people I don't like.
What is like one of the funniest scenes that you've ever done, where you guys just end up rolling in laughter?
Well, sometimes when, like I said, when things come together and everybody's feeling good about themselves, it's fun and it's funny. And there's a picture on my table with the four of us on Ghostbusters, and we had just finished doing something, and I think everybody felt good about it, and we're just genuinely laughing. So when people come with their best, yeah, it's a good thing. Most people who are difficult, I find in the business, maybe in life, are people who are really insecure. They didn't do their homework, and they don't really know, they're not prepared. So as opposed to saying, you know what, I didn't do my homework last night, they go, the cameraman, he's screwing it up, and the makeup has got this, is all, and so they find fault with everything and everybody to sort of deflate that it's, you know, and I've seen people get fired because someone was really insecure and blaming that person for something, and it really wasn't that person's fault. It's just, you know. So I don't like feeling unprepared. I just don't like that feeling. But I work with a lot of people who, you know, just have different work ethic, I guess. It's okay, you can pass it. Yeah.
I remember a while back, I saw you on TV, you talking about the experience you had at a hotel.
Oh, the ghost experience, yeah, not too far from here. It was in Greer, Arizona. I mean, I don't know how far that is from here, but you know, it's right around the corner, right? Greer, you know. Yeah, so we had done the first Ghostbusters, and someone offered to pay me to come and spend a night in this hotel. It's a haunted hotel, supposedly. And is that the one you're talking about? I mean, I've had a few experiences that I couldn't explain. So, as you see, I do believe in ghosts, but not so much on the physical level. I mean, they may exist. You know, there may be things that go bump in the night, but I've never heard of a ghost taking a gun and shooting anybody. You know what I mean? In the movies, maybe, you know, the ghosts will throw the knife across the room. That's really similar. But I do believe in ghosts in the mental realm, and I think a lot of people are afraid of ghosts that are very real to them, and they're very dangerous. But in this particular case, they asked me to come to this hotel. And so my wife and my son and a couple of friends, I thought, well, we have to drive from Los Angeles to Arizona, so we just make a road trip out of it and it'll be fun. And we went to this hotel and checked in. And that night, I woke up, there was a bed. My wife and I was in one bed. My son, who was a teenager, was in the other bed. And I woke up and I saw this sort of orb kind of floating over my son. And it was really weird. First I thought it was like, you know, those things where you kind of go, this is not happening. And it was just kind of floating there. And so I woke my wife up and I said, you know, don't do it, but look at Rocky's, is there something, do you see anything? It's just, oh my God, that's you know. So this orb just kind of floated down toward the foot of the bed, and then it kind of faded, but it became this black mass, like somebody was standing there by the door. And around the light around the door, you know, where you can see from the hallway, you could see him moving around. He was blocking the light. And my son woke up. He said, Dad, somebody's in the room. And I said, he said, no, there's somebody's at the foot of the, and so I turned on the light and there was nobody there. So then we started this kind of freak out. So we got panicked. So when we checked in, they said there's going to be somebody on the third floor. They're going to be up all night with these infrared lights to check any ghost activity there, because this person had killed somebody and his ghost was supposed to roam the hall, so they had these cameras on and they're going to be up all night. So we thought, we're going to go upstairs. So we ran down the hallway, we went upstairs, and the door was kind of, you know, it wasn't locked. So we got to the door and I kind of pushed the door open. But my son had gone across to another room. I know this is really complicated. He'd gone across to another room, and he said, Dad. So I went over there, and this sort of gust of cold air, it smelled kind of smoky, and so then we said, oh my God, so we just, and then we just panicked. So then we started running down this long hallway, and we ran, and we were running through this hotel screaming, and we didn't even know what, so we just stopped, we just kind of huddled. And then we went back to the room and turned all the lights on, and we sat there until the next morning, where they're going to be broadcasting from this hotel about any experiences. So the next morning, and I can't wait to tell anybody, because it was this thing, and you know, when you have an experience by yourself, you kind of, but when somebody else also experienced it, so my wife and my son was there, and they saw this thing. So the next morning on the radio show, when we were broadcasting, the guy, before I could talk, one of the guys who was in the room, he said, I gotta tell you, last night, oh my God. He said, you know, I'd fallen asleep and I heard the door so open, and then all of a sudden, this ghostly sound. It was blood curdling. He said it was just, oh, it was just going down the hallway. I'm like, that was us. We were the ones. Anyway, but you know, I've had some ghost experience. But I got to do a ghost story in Rhode Island. They took like 6 of us actors and put us on an island, and we're supposed to be there all night. And then they had the cameras on, and then whatever happened. And so then they give you assignments on the computer, and you go out into this place, and it was kind of weird. But in the middle of it, I thought, you know what? If there is a ghost, maybe I wouldn't mind seeing one, you know? And I just thought, maybe I shouldn't be afraid of this. Maybe it would be kind of cool. So I'm like, okay, ghost, come out, I'm here. Anyway, and so after that, I was never afraid of ghosts. But we did Speechless. We were shooting in Hollywood, and they put us up at the Roosevelt Hotel. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody went across the room. And I'm like, whoa. And then I looked, there was nobody there, and then somebody was kind of shaking the bed, and I thought, okay, I just checked out. I got out of the hotel, I'm like, nah, I'm not, no, I don't want to, you know. So ghosts are a little bit whatever. I got invited to come to Mississippi. They have a ghost hunt there at midnight, and they wanted me to join their ghost hunt at midnight. And I thought, I'm not going to Mississippi with a bunch of people I don't know looking for spooks. No, that ain't gonna happen. So no, I'm not trying to find any ghosts. And friends who are passing, I'm like, you know, please do not come and visit me. I'm sure we'll all see each other in due time, but I don't need any ghost hauntings. Yeah, sorry.
I got a question for you. When you read for Watson, did you see any of yourself in the character, or any of the character in yourself?
Now, who's Watson?
No. You know, Winston, sorry.
Oh, Winston, oh,
Sorry.
no, I did do a Watson, but it was a different show. And, yeah, okay, I wasn't sure, okay. Winston, did I see the character?
Yeah, did you see any of the character in yourself, or any of yourself in the character?
Yeah, well, you know, when I first started acting, I really believed that I could become someone else. I believed that the character wasn't me, and that he was very different, and that I could transform and be this other, completely other person. But as I've realized, I'm always going to be me. So, but it's me under different circumstances. So, for example, I did a movie with Nick Nolte called Weeds, and in Weeds, it was based on a true story, and the guy that I was playing, he and I were the same age, but he went to prison the same year I went to college. And so what would have happened, how would I be if I had spent the last how many years in prison as opposed to being in college and having my kids and doing all that? And so those circumstances begin to shape your view of the world. And so every character, with the Hannah Rossi Cradle, I was working on a fruit farm when I was a kid, and this guy who owned the place kicked me, and I fell and I hit my head on a rock and kind of knocked me out for a moment. And I always thought, well, that character was, what if I had gotten delayed or something had happened, you know, and I never progressed past that. So that character was like, you know, so every character is, you know, a little bit. And Winston was in Ghostbusters. I was with this group of people who were doctors, and they were in this ghost stuff, which he was like, okay, whatever, there's a steady paycheck and it just pay me. And Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold were kind of like they had already become stars. You know, they had done Saturday Night, they had done big movies. And so they were a little odd, you know, and so I think I felt a little bit like the character, you know, just I'm here. I love them all dearly, and I still do. We're doing this recent movie, and Bill Murray said he arranged for me and a couple of people to get this Thai massage. I don't know if you ever had a Thai massage, but they really, I mean, they dig in really deep. So, but we were working really late. We didn't get off until late, so I thought it wasn't going to happen. But I get to the hotel, and the little Thai masseuse is there, ready to do this massage. So I go up to the room. My wife is there in the other room, and so we get on the floor here, and she starts. When she started with my feet, it was like so painful. It was like it hurt so bad, but you know, I didn't want to, like, you know, so I'm just trying to, you know, how painful is it? Like 1 to 10, is it? And so I just kind of, so then she got on my back and she dug in. It was like really, really, really painful for 90 minutes. I was like in pain. And then when it's over, we go out, and Bill's out there with his masseuse. He says, Ernie, wasn't it great? And I'm like, well, you know, he said, Ernie, the first one is a little intense. He said, but the second one, that's when you really feel the benefit. So he said, can you girls come back tomorrow morning at 8? Now it's already 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, tomorrow morning at 8? So, and then I'm like trying to be like cool, and I said, oh yeah, okay. So 8 o'clock the next morning, they're back, and they're digging in, and it's just beyond. But I'm a guy, right? So I don't cry. I don't say anything. I just take it. The next day, my wife goes, oh my God, look at your back. I had scabs. It just, you know, I have scars on my back now. This is a month ago. I got scars all over my back where I guess she broke the skin. And so anyway, that's my thing about Billy, I think. 3 big scars. Yeah, so, you know, I think the fact that the masseuse was like, okay, you're not going to, how about this? And nope, I'm not going to scream. I should have screamed. Yeah.
Is there something that you ever thought about doing besides acting?
Is there something I thought about doing besides acting? Yeah, well, like I said, when I was in college, I was in the playwriting program. I went to Yale as a playwright as opposed to an actor. So writing is something, you know, speaking is something that I do sometimes. I was recently speaking at the, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, so I give speeches sometimes. And I always wanted to be an architect. I think if I hadn't discovered entertainment, I would have probably gone for something like that. I always like to think that I could do anything, and I'm old enough now to know that's not true. You know what I mean? Not really. You know, you think. It's like in relationships, you think, I can get along with a lot of people. No, you can't. You know, it's like, my wife is just a rare person who could kind of just, yeah. But yeah, I think I'm pretty smart until I sit there watching Jeopardy and I realize I don't even know any of the answers. My wife will get like maybe 40%. I don't get any of them, so but yeah, I think I would have, I really believe that there's a part of us, a greater part of us, that knows. We don't know, we're kind of limited, you know, but there's a greater part of us that really does know, and it's there assisting us, hinting at us. And so when you get the desire to do something, it's coming from someplace. And so if you begin to ask the questions, answers begin to come to you, unless you doubt it, unless you convince yourself that you don't deserve it. But if you just hold that thought, you know, little by little, I don't know how to be an actor, but something will lead me to the theater, something will, you know, you'll find your way if you just, unless you tell yourself that you won't, and then it can. answers are all around, but there's a verse in the Bible that says, watch as well as pray. And my grandmother would say, my grandmother raised me, and she would say, so many people spend so much of their lives praying that they get, their eyes are so closed, they don't see it. An opportunity is coming all the time, but you just miss it. So, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
So I hope it's not too personal a question, but.
No, you can answer anything. I'm so personal today.
So my question to you is, did you have to sacrifice some of your own happiness to get where you're at?
Did I have to sacrifice some of my own happiness to get where? I don't quite know how to honestly answer that. I guess I don't think you have to sacrifice your happiness, but I do think you have to see things a certain way. Most of the things that we do because we think it's going to make us happy. So you kind of go, is this really what I want? I don't think you fight against like habits and things. I've never believed in fighting, but I do believe in looking at what I'm doing, and I kind of go, why am I doing this, and is this what I want, because I have a choice. So to make the choice to be an actor, I'm making a choice. So I recognize that I'm going to have to let some things go, maybe. Like I never had a chance to hang out. People say, well, my career might have been bigger if I could have gone to a lot of parties. But when my marriage ended, I had 2 little boys, 7 and 10, and my wife didn't want to take the kids. So I'm in Hollywood, but I got my 2 kids. So I'm not going to sacrifice my chance to be a dad, because I didn't have a dad. But maybe I missed the party. But so what is it really? What is that happiness? You know what I mean? Yeah, I just think you need to be true to that, because there's really no amount of money. At a certain point, I see people who are billionaires and they're selling their souls for more money. I'm kind of, what do you do with it? I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know. So I don't think your true calling, I don't think it is a sacrifice, but you might believe it is. I don't think I missed anything. And yet I know there are a lot of things that I just don't have a clue. Honestly, if casinos had to survive by my spending money, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine this ain't going to happen. There's certain things that you're not. But it is right for somebody else. So that happiness that they're having, but that's for them. I have friends who are bigger stars than I am. They make a whole lot more money than I have, but I wouldn't have traded places, for that chance to be with my kids in the morning when they got up. For not that I got a big thank you from the kids, but you do what you know in your heart what's right for you. But just know that you make the choice, and be good with the choice. I mean, it's so I don't think you do. But sometimes you feel like you do. Sometimes you feel like, man, I could be doing something else more fun than being here. I can look at my wife and I go, there's other people who could be a lot more fun than you right now. I'm not that crazy, I would say. Yeah.
I know I shouldn't ask you this question, but
Yeah.
will you be starting on your proton pack in 2020?
Would I be strapping on my proton pack in 20, like, you mean at home? Yeah, every night about 3 o'clock in the morning, I just have to put it on. Strut around the house, with no clothes on, just my proton. Yeah, you mean in the movie?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say you'll just have to wait and be surprised. But I'm a Ghostbuster, so I do what Ghostbusters.
What are some of your all-time favorite movies, actors?
Oh, you mean other people?
Yeah.
Oh, because I'm at the top of my list. But yeah, I love Meryl Streep. She was at Yale when I was at Yale. Sigourney Weaver was at Yale when I was at Yale. But I love the work she does. Denzel Washington, I like Denzel. I'm beyond being jealous, and it's not so much certain roles. You think, man, I would have loved to have gotten shout at that. But you realize what comes to you is what's right for you. And also I had to learn how to, when something really good happens for someone else, it's a blessing for me because I see that it's possible. You know, when I started out, they would say, if you're African American, you're not going to get these roles, or you'll never do this. And then young people come along and they're doing it. So it shows that it's there, that the possibilities. You know, Sam Jackson, how do I say this in a nice way? He's not my all-time favorite actor, but I admire what he's been able to do, you know? So, and it inspires me, kind of go, well, I can't say that's not possible. You know, some people say these things aren't possible. Yeah, I just love good work. Jeremy Irons, you know, I just love his voice. I love his, you know, I work with Laurence Olivier. I work with Betty Davis. I did a movie with Betty Davis. But I admire people who are good at what they do and they're committed to what they do. And there are a lot of people out there who.
One more question, Lofty.
Yeah, one more question. Okay, we got one more good one. Okay, well, between you guys, so we'll do 2 questions, but who's first?
In the original Ghostbusters, how much of that was improvised, you know, come up with something in the moment versus just sticking to the script?
Well, I think we had a script, and so we would always do the written version.
Okay.
And then you kind of go, okay, we got that. So, and Bill Murray is like, you know, he's priceless because you never know where he's going to go with things. And so we were always kind of creating on the spot. But we always started with, you know, had a place to start from, yeah. Which is better than not having a script at all. And and not everybody is creative the way Bill is. You know, some actors think they are, but they're not.
Caddyshack was improvised a fair amount.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, yeah. And there are people who do that very well, but some people, some actors are just lazy and don't want to say the words, but you know, you're always reaching, like I said, you're reaching to make it better. Especially with comedy because it's so tough. Yeah.
So you mentioned your favorite actors and actresses now.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie of all time and why?
My favorite movie of all time.
Besides the obvious.
Yeah, you know, there was a movie, Amadeus. Not quite sure why I liked him. It was the first time I saw history with there were people like us. Usually when you look at history, it's like those people and they have those wigs on and they just kind of, it just didn't feel like, you know, it was like another time, it was another people. Whereas I go, okay, I get these people. And now I'm sort of looking at, because I'm in the autumn of my years, you know, I look at it almost like the leaves on a tree. You know what I mean? It's not summer anymore. This is October. The leaves are turning brown, and you know they're going to fall. You know, that's kind of how I look at it. This ain't summer. Might be Indian summer, but it ain't June. And so you know at some point you will. And so looking at history from a perspective of, wow, these are people who walked and talked and fell in love and went through and were kind of living their dreams. You know, I'm going to take my 4 sons to Ghana in March. My son traced our family roots to an African tribe, the Iwe people, and we're going to go and visit my 4 sons and my grandsons. But these were people who were a different time. We share this time, you know, this specific time and place. We're connected in a very, very beautiful and wonderful way, and this is our time. But there was another time, and that movie sort of made me aware of, how this life cycle goes, and it's a beautiful thing. And maybe we shouldn't be so afraid of each other. I go, dude, you know me. Maybe you don't know me personally, but you know me. Come on. You know, I'm just trying to, do what we all try to do. So, anyway, guys, great talking to you. Hope I answered whatever question.